Hi, I'm Scott Mentz, and I'm here with Father Randy Stice, St. Mary's new pastor. Father Randy has graciously agreed to an interview where he can share a little bit of his background with us. So we're going to get started here. Father, I just want to thank you for agreeing to do this.
Well, thank you for doing it. I'm happy to do it.
And I believe that it's going to be very helpful for the parishioners here at St. Mary's to get to know you a little bit more.
I hope so.
So welcome.
Thank you.
So let's get started. I guess probably the first thing would be for you to just maybe tell us a little bit about your background, maybe kind of where you're from, and many of us understand that you're a convert to Catholicism. We could probably talk about that a little bit. So why don't you just go ahead, and I'll do my best to prompt you along. I'm not a professional interviewer here.
Yeah, I'm not a professional interviewee, so we'll do it together.
Sounds good.
So I come from a family of 5. I have an older brother who lives in Kingsport with his wife, and I have a younger sister who lives in Murfreesboro with her husband. I was born in Michigan, raised Methodist, went to college in Texas, and then I had kind of a conversion experience when I was in North Carolina, and for a while attended evangelical church at Chapel Hill. And then I got
About how old were you then at that time?
I was thinking about 22,
okay.
23.
So, okay.
And then through that experience, I got interested in missions. And that was about 1980. That was right about the time that the United States was restoring diplomatic relationships with China. And so it was possible to go to China, but you couldn't go as a missionary, you had to have a job. So I applied to UCLA, was hired as an English teacher, and went and taught English in communist China. I lived in Canton for 3 years.
Wow, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. And then...
so you know Chinese?
Yeah, I know some Chinese, yes. I've forgotten more than I know. But I was pretty good when I was there, because not many people spoke English. And so if you wanted to travel and do things, you needed to speak.
But you didn't need to probably speak Chinese fluently in order to teach English, I guess.
No, in fact, they didn't really want us to learn Chinese because I was in the first group of foreigners to go to communist China. So
wow.
They kind of wanted to monitor us very carefully, and if we didn't speak Chinese, then we had to use interpreters, and so it was easy for them to sort of control us,
what you said,
make sure where we said it, where we went.
Sure.
So for me, speaking Chinese was a way to be a little more independent, to travel independently, and so I did that.
That's great. So 3 years in China, and then you came back to the States?
Yeah, I came back to the States, and I taught English at UC Santa Barbara, because I already had a relationship through UCLA. And I got involved in a Protestant charismatic church, the Vineyard. We do some of their songs now.
Oh, I know the Vineyard.
Yeah, so I was in
the Vineyard, yeah.
So I was in the Vineyard for a number of years. I started out in Oceanside. I first got acquainted with him in Santa Barbara, California, before I went to China.
Now, are you a musician as well, or?
Yeah, I play guitar and piano.
Great.
Not as much.
So did you play for the Vineyard then when you were
I was sort of
in the band.
In the band, I was in the band.
That's great.
So when I came back from China, I lived in Santa Barbara and got involved in the Vineyard there, and then I moved across the country twice with a Vineyard pastor to help start new Vineyard communities. We moved from Santa Barbara to near Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I was there for about 3.5 years. I taught at a private university there. And then we moved back to Oceanside, which is North San Diego County, and started a church there. And I taught English at UC San Diego.
Great.
So
you're an academic.
Yeah, well, I was a teacher.
Yeah.
Academic, yes. And then I was involved in a mission organization called Youth with a Mission, abbreviations are YWAM, and I was based in Hawaii, because people need to hear the gospel in Hawaii too.
Sure, of course.
So I lived on the Big Island for a year.
That was a tough assignment.
Yes, it was a very tough assignment. But I traveled a lot. I developed and taught a 1-month teacher training class, so I trained missionaries to teach English as a second language so they could go into Muslim and communist countries. and teach English. And so I did that, and I went to Australia a couple of times, and Europe a couple of times, and then taught it also on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Now, you were still with the Vineyard at this time?
No, I'd left the Vineyard,
Oh,
and now I was with YWAM.
Oh, YWAM.
I
Okay,
was
okay.
with the mission.
Great.
So, yes.
So, how did you get interested in Catholicism?
Actually, I think that started when I was in China. I lived near Hong Kong. I was about 70 miles from Hong Kong, so we could go to Hong Kong for the weekend. And when I started going to Hong Kong, I would buy, books to read, spiritual books to read, and I started reading Catholic writers like Teresa of Avila and St. John of the Cross, and so I think that really kind of started the process about 20 years before I actually came into the Catholic Church. But I was reading, the saints, and really feeling drawn to them. And then
God was planting His
yes,
seeds.
yes, a long time in advance, slow germinating. But and then after I finished with YWAM, I moved back to Texas, and I was going to the Episcopal Church for a while, which apparently a lot of Protestants that come into the Catholic Church do. The Catholic priest that brought me into the Catholic Church referred to it as a halfway house for Catholics, or Catholic light, but it does sort of get you used to sacramental worship and praying with the book, and I think during that period I really sort of reflected a lot on Jesus' teaching on the Eucharist, and I really came to feel you really believe in the true presence, the real presence of Christ.
Right, which is a bit different in the Episcopal Church.
Yeah. They're kind of they're like something happens. We're not really quite sure what, but it's a little different. But the Catholic Church is much clearer about that. And then I was also very interested in contemplative prayer. In fact, before I went to seminary to study for the priesthood, I looked at the Trappists. So I think those two things, the Eucharist and the Catholic tradition of contemplative prayer, were really kind of what brought me to the Catholic Church.
Well, that's wonderful. So you were in seminary, and this was 10 years ago or so?
11. I started in December of 2002.
Right, because I think you've been ordained for about 6 years?
A little over 6 years.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was ordained June 2nd of 2007.
Wonderful. And that was in the Diocese of Knoxville?
Yes, yeah.
And that was Bishop Kurtz?
Yes.
That ordained you?
Yes.
Great.
He ordained me, and then a week later he ordained the permanent deacon in class, and then I think 2 days later he was named the Archbishop of Louisville.
Wow, so you got it just before he left.
Yes. I started with him, and I finished with him.
Well, that's great. And now, prior to coming to St. Mary's, you were working in the chancery for the diocese. Did you start, you were the director of worship and liturgy, I believe is the right title. Did you start in that position immediately upon your ordination? Or
my first assignment was from Archbishop Kurtz, and I was assigned to the associate at St. Mary's in Johnson City.
Okay.
So I was there just as the associate pastor for the first 2 years, and my second year was in January of 2009. Bishop Stice was appointed our third bishop, and in May he appointed me the director of liturgy, and then sent me back to school to study. So I'd done my formation for the priesthood at Mundelein, which is sort of northwest of Chicago, and as part of Mundelein there's a liturgical institute, and so the bishop sent me back to the liturgical institute to get a master's.
Now, Mundelein is, we've got a couple of seminarians there now, I believe. And it's also where Father Robert Barron is the rector now. And he'll be at our Eucharistic Congress speaking.
Yeah, I had him for a couple of classes. He was teaching there when I was there.
I think he's great.
Oh,
Did you enjoy learning from him?
Oh, absolutely. And he's a wonderful homilist. So all the seminarians want to give homilies like Father Barron.
Well, I understand that you just might be one that does.
Well, I don't know.
You've got quite a reputation when it comes to homilies.
I don't know.
I've been told that people come from all around to hear your homilies.
Well, I haven't heard that. But
well, we're certainly appreciative to have your talents here at St. Mary's. Well, that's great. That's an interesting story, and I think going from all this time in the Protestant tradition and then into the Episcopal tradition and then into the Catholic Church it's great. So I guess for anybody that might be outside the church, there's always hope that they'll find their way home, right?
And it actually, I think, it really helps me in the Diocese of Knoxville, in the South, which is heavily Protestant. I mean, I think we compete with Anchorage, Alaska, for being percentage of the population, the least Catholic diocese in the United States.
Anchorage
is
either,
I think
we're right
from
there.
census to census, sometimes we're in the lead, and sometimes Anchorage is a little
Interesting.
Yes,
I didn't know
yes,
that. That's
I think we're like 2.7% of the population. But I think having such a strong Protestant background makes it easy. I feel very comfortable sort of talking to our separated brothers and sisters about the church and the faith and scripture and things like that.
Well, we can look forward to some great growth here.
I hope so.
Now, just prior to coming to St. Mary's, we talked about the fact that you were director of worship and liturgy. Will you continue to have any responsibilities along those lines as pastor here?
Oh, yes. So actually, when I finished my master's in liturgy, which was February of 2011, then I came back and I was about half and half director of liturgy and then associate pastor at the cathedral. And so I will continue to serve as the director of liturgy for the diocese. I also, part of that involves serving as MC for the bishop, particularly at large liturgies like ordinations and the Chrism Mass. And I think some of my MC responsibilities are going to be taken by a couple of other priests. So I have a lessening of that, but I still will be responsible for sort of overseeing all the liturgies that the bishop celebrates in the diocese.
Making sure they're done properly.
That's right. As he would like them done.
Absolutely. Well, that's exciting. Now, I understand that you also have some additional responsibilities, having moved here.
Job number 3.
out at our retreat center, the Christ Prince of Peace, and where I believe everyone is familiar with the fact that the Handmaids of the Precious Blood, a group of cloistered nuns, is now residing. And I believe that you're sharing some spiritual director responsibilities for the sisters?
Yeah, Father McGinnity and I have both been appointed spiritual directors for the Handmaids. And so as part of that, we celebrate Mass. Each of us celebrates Mass for them twice a week. And then Father Sescon and Father Moser also celebrate Mass for them on a weekly basis. And then Father McGinnity and I are also available to hear confessions and offer spiritual direction.
So Mass will be celebrated at the retreat center daily?
Yes.
That's great.
Daily.
As a matter of fact, I believe we have the schedule of those Masses on our website.
Yeah, and I think it's also in the bulletin.
In the bulletin as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
So
they're open. It's sort of the tradition or the custom of the Handmaids to have their Masses open to the public. Actually, they're kind of separated where they sit for the Mass, but their Masses are always open to the public.
Right. I don't think they're quite I don't know much about cloistered nuns, but I believe that they're maybe a bit more public than what might come to my mind in terms of a cloistered nun. In other words, I understand they're going to be attending the Eucharistic Congress, and the idea that we can celebrate Mass with them at the retreat center and so on is...
There's no grill involved.
There's no grill. We'll be able to see their faces.
As far as I know right now.
Maybe in the future they'll have a new facility.
Yeah, I think eventually they will when the rest of the community comes. But
well, that's great. Well, that sounds good. Now you'll be celebrating Mass out there just once a week, I think.
No, the bishop has asked me to celebrate Mass for them twice a week.
Twice a week.
So I celebrate Mass for them Thursday and Saturdays at 9 o'clock.
Wonderful. So and anybody is welcome to attend those Masses.
Yes.
Well, that's great. We have a fairly large Hispanic community here at St. Mary's. And I was curious, I think people might be interested in knowing how well you speak Spanish, if at all.
I have a full 6 weeks of formal study.
6 weeks? Well, that's better than I have.
But when I was in Johnson City, particularly the second year, I had 2 different pastors the 2 years that I was in Johnson City. And the second year, the pastor didn't speak Spanish really at all. So I was pretty much exclusively responsible for the Hispanic ministry. So I celebrated almost all their Masses and heard confessions. And so I got a lot of practice and improved a lot. I didn't use it obviously as much when I went back to seminary. So I'm a little rusty but I got to use it a little bit more at the cathedral.
But no problem reading it and celebrating
No,
liturgy
no,
and so on.
No.
What about homilies? Do you have somebody translate your homilies?
No, I do my homilies.
You do your own homilies in Spanish?
I do, and Google Translate.
And Google Translate. I've been warned that's a little dangerous, so you got to be careful.
Well, our receptionist at the cathedral was Hispanic, and she said she used it, and she said it was really quite good.
It's really very good.
It's really quite good.
It's those.
I mean, I'll do it and then I'll look it over.
It's those occasions when you talk about kids and it translates into goats or something like that.
Yes. I mean, I always read over it and tweak it some, but I like to do my own. It's one way that I can improve my Spanish.
Well, that's great. I'm sure our Spanish community will be thrilled to hear that. Would you like to say something to them in Spanish, or not really? I don't mean to put you on the spot like that.
No, I'm going to hurt you.
Well, I really don't have any more questions for you. I thought there might be something you might want to say. Actually, there was one other question, and that has to do with the fact that many of us have heard you say that you feel like you won the lottery by coming to St. Mary's. And so we're curious to know, why is it that you think you've won the lottery? What's so attractive about St. Mary's?
Well, I think I've only heard really positive things about St. Mary's. I mean, I think it's a very strong parish. It's a very close parish. I like the diversity, a good Anglo community, a good Hispanic community, so I can work on my Spanish. And it just seems like it's a very loving and welcoming community, and great facilities, beautiful setting.
Nice rectory.
My
wife loves this house. It's her favorite house.
But it's just and I really felt very welcomed since I first came here. So I just feel like it's going to be a really good place.
Well, I think it is,
pastor.
And I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we hope you'll stay for many, many years. And
I do too.
So that would be great. Father William was with us for about 4 years, and I think it's been a while since the parish has had someone that long. Right. But it'd be nice to have you longer than that.
So. My appointment letter is for 6, so let's hope.
Oh, you've got 6. Well,
I've been appointed for 6.
Well, good.
So
well, that's
hope.
good. That's great to know. So, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
I don't think so. I just am really, really thrilled to be here. I'm just eager to meet everybody and just sort of work with you to really build the church here in Athens.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks again, Father, for agreeing to do this, and hopefully we won't have to do too much editing.
Yes. Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.